Hi guys, it's Mark Rees here again. I've set you a little challenge. You've got to watch the video, and it's just, you're going to see me working with clay. So if you can get your hands on clay, which you can do, because I know my daughters did it. They went on, I think it was Amazon Prime, and got it the next day. Or you could just ask for some grey buff clay, or you can get some air drying clay. In fact, I think on the last lockdown lessons, we used air drying clay, so you can get your hands on that, and that just dries out in a couple of days. Or you can pop it in the oven for an hour or two. I usually put it in with the pizzas, and before you know it, in a couple of hours, it's pretty much rock hard, and you can paint it with either acrylic paints or water-based paints. But there's some chat in this video, so just look at that. With regard to the salt dough, you can look, there's options. So basically it's table salt, plain flour and water. I've got one here. It says 500 grams of flour, 500 grams of table salt, 250 milliliters of warm water, and I would add a tablespoon of vegetable oil to that. You can actually, once you've made this, you can actually keep it for several weeks in the fridge, but in a sealed airtight container up to 2 weeks. Not necessarily in the fridge, as long as it's in an airtight container. So it's pretty cool. It's reusable as long as you put it away and put the lid on. There you have it. So all I want you to do is to watch the video, try not to fall asleep, and then do the task at the end. Yeah, I know, but it's a way of getting the air bubbles out. And if you don't get the air bubbles out, when you come to fire it, it will blow up. Okay, so you can often hear muted explosions going on, and that's the clay that has got air bubbles in it. That's mini little caves inside of here that the air expands. It's got nowhere to go. Boom, and you can destroy the persons next to you. So it can be very frustrating for somebody who doesn't take a little bit of care on getting the air bubbles out. So as you can see here, I've actually cheated a bit. I've actually started in rolling out a slab of clay. My idea is to try and work on the theme of food. All of clay like this. I've got these two things which are called spacers, and I've got a rolling pin here. Now I simply would start by knocking this down with a rolling pin. And you're rolling to and fro. Just do it 2 or 3 times and then turn it over. Hang on. These things here are called spacers, like railway lines. You can see the thickness of them, they're both the same. And then the idea is to roll out the clay down to the thickness of the spacers, okay? Right, so I'm not going to keep going on with that because I've already done one here. As you can see, I've already rolled one out. Lay that down on top. Yeah, look, it just about works. Now look at the tools I've got here. Can you see the tools I've got? I've got some old forks, I've got some old knives here. I've got all sorts. I don't know why I've got plastic pegs in there, because that was another project I think we used those for. But also we've got things like, we've got toothbrushes. We collect old toothbrushes, clean them, and you can actually use them. They're really great for getting texture. So there's all sorts of tools that you can build up over the years. Okay, clay cuts quite easily. So I've got my plate there, that's already my template. And I'm just going to literally use the back of the fork, work my way around like that. And that should sort of peel off quite simply like that. Okay, I'll just keep those bits. And any bits of clay that you collect, it's a good idea to actually keep them together and they stay moist then. You leave little bits lying around, they dry out, and you can't use clay very well if it's dry. So there you go, we're pretty sure that that's going to be roughly the right size. So there's my plate. Now you're probably thinking, what's he doing with his plate? He hasn't said about that. Now the idea of the plate is, I'm going to try and make a plate of food, okay? Here that we're specifically looking at pop art, and in particular we're looking at Klaus Oldenburg. There's a name to remember, it's got Berg in it. Think of burger, Oldenburg. So he does a lot with food. He's a sculptor, basically, pop-up sculptor, and he works on quite a large scale. So one of his things that he loves to do is to make things sometimes out of various metals, sometimes out of fabrics, just a whole range of materials, and obviously clay as well, but on a big scale, so it kind of blows your mind away a little bit. It makes you look at scale, what is big, what is small, doesn't mean anything unless you kind of compare it to something else anyway, but little bits of, it doesn't have to be what I would say Peter Perfect, okay, because it is literally a sausage. So there we go, we've got the first sausage made. It's quite a big one, isn't it? Okay, so, and then on we go again. We can do the next one, but we won't have to repeat that. Let's just do something a little bit more fun. So we're going to go for the egg. Now the egg, you're looking at the yolk, you literally need a ball. Again, I'm just going to use my old fork and literally I'm going to cut that in half, okay? And then I can work it around like that. Now, but never mind it. Yeah, it is coming apart there. Let's get that off. Okay, let's not take too much time on this. So here comes the egg. Now what I'm going to do here is I've got a ball. I'm just going to put a little hole in it. And then I'm just going to try and open it up. So I'm just squeezing and turning. This is known as a pinch pot. This is quite a useful technique to know, because clay, you can't have clay too thick. If you have clay too thick, again, it runs the gauntlet of blowing up in the kiln pot there. And I've got some water in this little teapot, and I'm going to pour this water in like that, just a tiny bit. Where's my brush? There it is. So here we go, here's the brush, and I'm just literally going to stir it, mixing with the clay, and it becomes, you don't want to be as thick as cream, but not too thin, as you don't want it like milk, so it's somewhere between milk and cream. And there we go, that's the magic glue. I'm just going to leave it like that. So we're going to join two bits of clay together. Normally you don't have to really do this because the clay is quite moist, but because we've been here a little while now, everything is drying out. So we're going to cross hatch on the area that we want to put this. So here we go. I'm literally, where am I going to put it? Just roughly off center. So I'm going to gentle crosses in different direction like that, cross hatch. The same on the yolk, like that. And then I'm going to add my magic glue, my slip, a little bit on there and a little bit on there, and stick that on top like that. And that will help it join, okay? Now, obviously, you spend more time smoothing out all these edges and all of that. I'm not going to spend ages on it, but that will help keep those. That is a key which will bring those two bits of clay together. That's a joining technique, okay? Using slip, cross-hatch technique on both surfaces, bringing them together like that. Pretty cool, actually. We'll tidy that up a little bit later. I've got my egg. I've got one sausage down there. It's quite a big one on my plate. Another ball in half here. So we're just going to speed this up a little bit, and I'm going to crack on and make a mushroom. But before we do that, I just want to remind you again, I'm going to be sticking two bits of clay together, and again I'm going to be doing the cross hatch technique. So that's a quick cross hatch both ways like that on two surfaces that need to be joined together. Okay, bit of the magic slip, magic glue, a little bit on there and a little bit on there, and then I'm going to bring the two together like that. Right, now we're looking at hash browns, and you can see not everything is nice and smooth. So I've done a rough shape of a hash brown. They come in different shapes and sizes depending on where you get them from. Again, not allowing the clay to go, I would say, any thicker than about 2 centimeters, or you have to consider hollowing it out. And in fact, I could give a quick demonstration now of that process. I'm going to do it on here just to show you. Maggie, just film this for a second. So we're going to cut into this with this tool. It's just a wire tool, and you can actually hollow it out like this, and no one would actually know, because that is the side that would be sitting on the plate, so you wouldn't actually get to see this. So there you go. Obviously it's disappeared, but I've hollowed that out a wee bit because I just felt that that was a bit thick and it may stand a chance of blowing up. So anything beyond 2 centimeters, I'd be thinking about hollowing it out. Okay, so I am now going to play with some textured tools, What have I got? I've just found a bit of bubble wrap. I just thought we'd just have a little go at that. Let's just roll that on there. See if we get anything from it. Might not, I don't know. There we go. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of something there. Can you see that with the light? And then the next thing I'm going to try is my old trusty toothbrush. Okay, so let's just knock some of that dry stuff off there. You know, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Look at that. I'm getting some really good textures going on in there. So you can do the sides as well. Okay, it's really good fun, this. This is when it's great clay, because you can press it into all sorts of different surfaces, anything that's got a texture, and lo and behold, you're going to start to get some very interesting stuff that actually starts to look like food, and we haven't even put any colour on it yet. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. What else could I use? What else could I use? I'm gonna. Clay picks up clay, by the way. If you haven't got little bits of clay on your table, clay actually picks up clay. It's quite good for that. So, and then here I'm just going to use my fork. I'm just going to add a little bit of that to it, a bit more texture. There we go. I don't want to overdo it. So, we were going to time lapse that, but we haven't done now. So that's cool, because we've actually shown you how to hollow out. And if you're still not happy with that, you can hollow a little bit more out. We've got a hash brown to sit on there like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, right, now I'm moving on to a piece of bacon. So I've got my rolling pin here. I've got a bit of clay into this kind of shape. Let's just have a go. It's been ages since I've done this. So just roll them out. So you can find something as a support, and so you can bend the bacon around find some objects that you can use, so that not everything sits absolutely flat. If I look at the bacon in that plate there, you've got the sausage, then you've got the bacon underneath it. I'll have loads of beans and multiples of. So to make things a little bit more convincing, start to make them not just simply sit there on a flat surface, but actually give them a bit of shape. Now, now I'm just gonna go into time lapse. A plate of food, please. Any kind of food. It's up to you. Use your imagination, but please use some of the techniques that I've demonstrated. Thanks very much. Take care.